What happens when a billion-dollar real estate market stops selling overnight? You've heard the rumors about a correction. Forget that word. We are tracking a 65% collapse in transaction volume in some of the most famous zip codes in America. We are seeing luxury homes slashed by $2 million and still sitting empty for 400 days. The Colorado mountain dream isn't just cooling off, it is freezing over. Today we are driving straight through the wreckage. We're counting down the top 10 mountain towns in total freefall, and you need to stay for number 1 because it's the place everyone said was too big to fail, and right now it is leading the crash. Number 10, Durango. We start our descent in Durango, and yes, we're calling it a descent. Tucked into the southwestern corner of Colorado, Durango has always been different. It's not just a ski town, it's a real city with a university, a historic downtown, year-round tourism from Mesa Verde, and the narrow gauge railroad. For decades, that diversity insulated it. While other mountain towns rode boom-bust cycles, Durango stayed stable. Californians and Texans poured in during the pandemic, convinced they'd found the balanced mountain lifestyle without the Aspen price tag. That stability just shattered. According to the Durango Area Association of Realtors, home sales dropped 38% year over year through Q3 of this year. The median home price, which peaked at $748,000 in early 2023, has fallen to $612,000, an 18% correction that's accelerating. Luxury inventory above $1.5 million has exploded by 140%. These aren't cabins sitting unsold. These are architect-designed homes with acreage, the kind that were getting multiple offers 2 years ago. Now, average days on market, 167 days. Some listings are approaching 300. But here's the real crack in the foundation. Durango's median household income sits at $64,000, according to census data. To afford that $612,000 median home, you'd need an income around $165,000. The math doesn't work for locals, and out-of-state buyers have moved on. Fort Lewis College enrollment is down 12% since 2022, meaning fewer renters, fewer young professionals staying after graduation. Drive through town and you'll see the for sale signs multiplying like weeds, coffee shops cutting hours, new developments sitting half finished. To make matters worse, the region is facing a quieter but equally devastating insurance crisis. Many major insurers are non-renewing policies in La Plata County due to wildfire risk mapping, leaving homeowners scrambling for expensive surplus lines coverage that can triple monthly costs. Even local agriculture is feeling the pinch as water rights battles intensify, stalling new rural subdivisions that were supposed to bring inventory to the market. Durango thought its diversity would save it. Instead, it's discovering that when the mountain real estate market collapses, nothing is immune, and we're just getting started. Number 9, Silverthorne. We push north on I-70 into Summit County, and our next stop is Silverthorne, the town that became the poster child for overbuilding in the worst possible moment. Silverthorne has always been the utilitarian cousin in a family of glamorous resorts. No ski lifts in town, no historic Main Street. It's where workers lived, where you hit the outlets, where developers could actually get land. During the pandemic, that changed. Builders saw opportunity, affordable mountain condos for remote workers, investment properties for Denverites wanting weekend access. Construction cranes went up everywhere. Then demand evaporated. According to Summit County property records, Silverthorne issued permits for over 600 new residential units between 2021 and 2023. Most hit the market in the last 18 months, right as mortgage rates doubled and buyer interest collapsed. The result? A disaster. Active listings in Silverthorne are up 218% compared to 2 years ago, per the Summit Association of Realtors. Median prices have dropped 22% from peak, now sitting at $485,000 for condos that were supposed to be affordable mountain access. Days on market average 184, but that's misleading. Units in the newer developments are hitting 250, 300, even 400 days without serious offers. Walk through these complexes and it's eerie. Huge buildings, beautiful finishes, maybe 40% occupied. Developers are offering massive incentives, covering HOA fees for a year, rate buy downs, throwing in furniture packages, and still can't move inventory. The HOA fees themselves are part of the problem. $450 to $650 a month for a 2-bedroom condo. Add that to a mortgage at 7% and suddenly the affordable mountain condo costs $3,800 a month. Local realtors are quietly admitting some developers may walk away entirely, leaving lenders holding half-empty buildings. Silverthorne built for a boom that already ended, and the crater is only getting deeper. Number 8. Steamboat Springs. We leave I-70 behind and drive northwest to Steamboat Springs, a town facing a crisis entirely of its own making. It can't decide what it wants to be, and the market is punishing that confusion. Steamboat built its identity on being the authentic mountain town, real ranching roots, cowboy culture, ski town USA, without the pretension of Vail or Aspen. That authenticity attracted a loyal following. Then tech money arrived. Californians started building trophy homes on the ridgelines, and suddenly Steamboat was trying to be two things at once. The market is saying no to both. Routt County records show home sales volume down 41% year over year, with the median price dropping from $982,000 at peak to $797,000 today, a 19% slide that's accelerating into winter. The luxury segment above $2 million. Absolute freefall. Inventory has tripled with an average of 246 days on market, but even the affordable tier is stuck. Condos that sold in days during 2021 now sit for months. According to Steamboat Springs Board of Realtors data, price reductions are hitting 68% of active listings, with an average cut of $127,000. Here's where it gets worse. Steamboat's tourism identity is weakening. Skier visits at the resort dropped 11% last season compared to 2022, per Altera's investor reports. Fewer visitors means fewer rental bookings. AirDNA reports short-term rental revenue in Steamboat is down 23% this year, and occupancy has cratered to 42%, meaning half the year these investment properties sit empty, bleeding money on mortgages, property taxes, insurance, and utilities. Workers are leaving because there's nowhere affordable to live, yet luxury buyers aren't showing up because Steamboat isn't exclusive enough. The town is trapped between two identities, and the real estate market is collapsing in the space between them. Up next, the short-term rental disaster gets even uglier. Number 7. Pagosa Springs. We swing back south toward the New Mexico border and pull into Pagosa Springs, a town that accidentally turned itself into a textbook case of how to vaporize a housing market with one policy shift. This place built its reputation on those steaming hot springs, a slower pace, and that old Colorado feel that the I-70 corridor lost years ago. Then came the short-term rental gold rush. Investors from Phoenix, Dallas, and Southern California piled in, buying every cabin and chalet they could get their hands on, running spreadsheets that assumed endless tourists and ever-rising nightly rates. That fantasy collapsed almost overnight. Facing a full-blown housing crisis, the town council slammed on the brakes. Moratoriums, strict caps on new vacation rental licenses, aggressive enforcement. The instant those rules hit, the cash flow story disintegrated. Platforms tracking bookings show future calendars down by roughly 40% compared to peak, with occupancy plunging even in what used to be the busy seasons. Homes purchased as can't-lose Airbnbs are now negative cash flow liabilities. The listing data tells the rest of the story. High-end inventory, especially above the $1 million mark, has nearly doubled in 2 years. Average days on market for those properties has blown past 4 months and keeps climbing. Price cuts are everywhere. Multiple reductions on the same home within a single quarter. Yet even after those cuts, the median list price is still roughly double what local wage data suggests residents can realistically afford. You end up with a ghost market, investors who no longer want to hold, locals who never had a real shot at buying, and a town discovering what happens when you tie your entire housing ecosystem to short-term rentals and then sever the cord. And hey, if your current investment strategy isn't buying a cabin you can't rent out, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. It helps the channel more than an empty Airbnb helps a mortgage payment. Let's continue with the next one. Number 6. Edwards. We head back into the Central Rockies and drop into Edwards, located just down the highway from Vail. This place was never supposed to be on a disaster list. For decades, Edwards served as the critical pressure valve that made the entire valley function. It was the middle-class anchor where the teachers, firefighters, and hotel managers lived, the actual workforce that kept the billion-dollar resorts running. You had chain stores, clinics, and regular neighborhoods filled with families. Then, the money flooded in. Investors and second-home buyers didn't just buy in Vail, they bought everything in sight, converting long-term housing into short-term rentals and luxury townhomes. Edwards stopped being a refuge for locals and started trying to become a mini Vail. That shift triggered a brutal economic squeeze that is now snapping back hard. Rents shot up so high that the service sector collapsed, but now the sales market is following suit. Recent figures from county housing reports show transaction volume in Edwards is down more than 40% from the peak, yet inventory is surging, especially in the $800,000 to $1.5 million band that used to move in hours. Days on market for those homes have doubled, pushing past the 5-month mark in some subdivisions. Sellers are now stuck with luxury pricing in a town that feels increasingly empty and disconnected from its roots. The human fallout is what makes Edwards so alarming, and it's effectively killing the local economy. School district enrollment across the valley has been drifting down, with some campuses in and around Edwards losing entire classrooms of students as families give up and move to cheaper states. The Eagle County classifieds are filled with thousands of open jobs, not because the economy is booming, but because workers literally cannot exist here. Restaurants are cutting hours, and local businesses are reporting a significant drop in consumer spending because the people who actually spend money, the locals, are gone. You see it in the built environment: half-empty strip malls, help wanted signs gathering dust, and high-end riverfront units that are dark for 50 weeks a year. Edwards tried to level up into a luxury market and, in the process, hollowed out the very middle that made it resilient. It's a zombie town in the making: expensive, exclusive, and eerily quiet. Number 5. Crested Butte. From the interstate corridor, we cut deep into the central mountains to reach Crested Butte, the quirky, artsy, we're not like the other ski town that quietly became one of the most distorted luxury markets in the Rockies. For decades, Crested Butte's remoteness was a feature, not a bug. Hardcore skiers, mountain bikers, and second home owners who wanted character instead of gloss came here on purpose. Then the pandemic hit, remote work exploded, and suddenly that remoteness looked like safety. High net worth buyers stampeded in. The numbers went ballistic. At the peak, some neighborhoods saw prices double in just a few years as homes above $2 million became the norm, not the exception. That frenzy is now unwinding fast. Local MLS summaries show closed sales volume in the upper tier down by more than half compared to peak years, while active listings above $2 million have surged. Many of those properties have been sitting for 200, 300, even 400 days. Price reductions are no longer small tweaks. Sellers are chopping hundreds of thousands off initial asks and still getting lowball offers. What makes Crested Butte's situation uniquely fragile is how dependent it became on that ultra-wealthy buyer. The traditional second-home family has been priced out. Local workers have long since been pushed into overcrowded rentals or distant valleys. That leaves a tiny pool of global buyers who suddenly have options everywhere, from Montana to Europe, and no urgency to catch a falling knife. Meanwhile, high HOA dues, rising insurance costs, and steep property taxes are eating investors alive. Downtown still looks charming on a bluebird day, but behind those colorful facades are owners quietly panicking about carrying costs they justified with 2021 prices. Crested Butte bet everything on being an exclusive luxury outpost. Now, with demand fading, that exclusivity feels less like an asset and more like a trap. Number 4. Breckenridge. We push further along the I-70 corridor to Breckenridge, the most popular ski destination in the US by sheer visitor volume. Unlike Vail or Aspen, Breck built its empire on mass appeal, accessible to the Front Range, family-friendly, and traditionally less pretentious. That accessibility created a monster. During the pandemic, investors turned Breckenridge into what locals now call Disneyland with a zip code. Every condo became a short-term rental, every starter home an investment vehicle. Now, that mass market model model is imploding. Summit County's aggressive new short-term rental regulations have created specialized zones, and if your property falls outside the designated resort overlay, your rental potential just evaporated. The market reaction was instant. According to Summit Realtors, inventory for condos outside the resort zone has surged by 43% in just 6 months. Owners who bought assuming $80,000 a year in rental income are now looking at restrictions that cap bookings or eliminate short-term licenses entirely upon transfer. The financial data is stark. The median sales price for single-family homes has softened by 12% from the 2023 highs, but transaction volume has collapsed by nearly 45%. Buyers are terrified of the regulatory risk. Why buy a $1.5 million cabin if the town council can change the rental rules next Tuesday? Meanwhile, the cost of ownership is skyrocketing. Local property management companies report insurance premiums in Summit County have jumped 30 to 50% this year due to wildfire risk models. Add in property tax assessments that doubled for many owners, and the holding costs are bleeding investors dry. Breckenridge is learning a hard lesson. When you build an entire economy on short-term transient guests and then tell them they aren't welcome, the math stops working very, very fast. Number 3. Vail. We continue west to the crown jewel of American skiing, Vail. This is a town built on the promise of exclusivity, a place where $10 million is considered an entry-level budget for a single-family home. For 50 years, Vail was the blue-chip stock of mountain real estate. It never went down until now. The problem in Vail isn't just interest rates, it's an identity crisis combined with aging infrastructure that wealthy buyers are suddenly rejecting. Here's the reality check. Vail's inventory is old. The average condo in the village was built in the late 70s or early 80s. Buyers with $5 million today don't want a dark, low-ceilinged unit that needs a $700,000 gut renovation just to be livable. They want turnkey luxury, and they're finding it in fresher markets like Montana or Utah where you get twice the house for the same money. The Vail Board of Realtors data confirms the freeze. Dollar volume in Vail Village is down over 35% year to date. Listings are piling up, specifically in that $3 million to $6 million range, which used to be the sweet spot. But the silent killer here is the carry. HOA fees in Vail's core are astronomical, often exceeding $30,000 a year for older buildings with extensive amenities and maintenance backlogs. Add in the special assessments hitting owners for roof replacements, elevator upgrades, and boiler failures, and the cost to own is shocking even for millionaires. We're seeing price cuts of $500,000 or more on listings that have sat for over a year. The town itself is feeling the squeeze. Vail's municipal budget is reportedly facing a $20 million shortfall as sales tax revenue craters. Luxury travelers are spending less, and the town's famous boutiques and restaurants are seeing foot traffic decline. Even the Epic Pass effect is backfiring. While the slopes are crowded, the high-end spender is staying away to avoid the lift lines, leaving Vail with a volume of day trippers who don't buy real estate. The Vail premium is evaporating. Sellers are still pricing like it's 2022. Buyers are offering 2019 numbers, and the result is a stalemate where almost nothing moves. The legend is looking tired, and the money is noticing. Number 2. Telluride. We head deep into the San Juan Mountains to our runner-up, Telluride. This is the most visually spectacular box canyon in North America, a place where Oprah and Tom Cruise have owned homes. It's arguably the most exclusive market in Colorado. It's also arguably the most trapped. Telluride has a unique geographic problem. There is literally nowhere to build. That scarcity used to drive prices up infinitely. Now it's strangling the town. The entry price for a single-family home in Telluride has hovered around $5 million, but sales volume has practically vanished. According to the Telluride Association of Realtors, the number of sales is down nearly 50% compared to the pandemic peak. The market has become illiquid. Sellers are sitting on $15 million estates that no one is buying. Why? Because the town is effectively broken for anyone who isn't a billionaire. There's zero housing for workforce. Restaurants are closing on random days or cutting menus because staff can't afford to live within an hour's drive. A report from the town's own economic council found that a gallon of milk costs $12, and the median age of a resident has jumped by 6 years in the last decade. It is a town of aging part-time residents, and the vibrancy that made it famous is dying. But the biggest red flag is insurance. Major carriers are quietly pulling out of the Box Canyon due to wildfire risk. If you can't get admitted carrier insurance, you're forced into the surplus lines market, where premiums can be $50,000 to $100,000 a year for a luxury home. Even cash buyers hesitate at those numbers because they know it affects resale value. Inventory of homes priced over $10 million has stacked up, with days on market averaging over 300. It's a beautiful museum where the lights are slowly going out because the cost to keep them on has become irrational. Telluride is proof that you can actually price yourself into oblivion. We're almost there. The number one town on this list is a place that was supposed to be invincible, but as you'll see, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Number 1, Aspen. We end our journey at the ultimate destination. We've driven over the passes and deep into the Roaring Fork Valley to the one, the only Aspen. This isn't just a ski town, it's a global brand, a playground for the 0.1%. And that is exactly why it takes the number 1 spot on our disaster list. For decades, the rule in Aspen was simple. Prices never go down. That rule is now dead. The bubble here wasn't just inflated, it was detached from reality, and the pop is shaking the entire luxury market. The data from the Aspen Glenwood MLS is nothing short of catastrophic. The median sales price for a single-family home has dropped 32% from its peak. Let that sink in. A 32% erase of value. We are talking about homes listed for $40 million, now struggling to fetch $27 million. Billions of dollars in paper wealth have evaporated in less than a year. Transaction volume has collapsed by over 65%. The buyers have simply vanished. The tech CEOs are back in the office, the crypto money has dried up, and the Aspen premium no longer makes sense to a global elite that can buy in the Alps or the Rockies for a fraction of the price. The inventory situation is terrifying. Active listings have surged by 210% as sellers rush for the exits, only to find no one waiting at the door. Properties are sitting for an average of 275 days. That's not a market, that's a museum of unsold homes. But the most damning stat comes from the Pitkin County assessor. Commercial activity is plummeting, with luxury retail sales down 50%. The town is becoming a ghost town of empty mansions. Census data reveals over 60% of Aspen's homes sit vacant for more than 10 months a year. The service economy that supported this lifestyle is broken too. Commuters now travel up to 2 hours each way because the affordable down valley towns have also become too expensive. Restaurants are shortening hours, and the vibrancy that once justified the price tag is fading. Aspen built an economy on being the most expensive place on earth. Now that the money has stopped flowing, it is undeniably the biggest real estate disaster in the state. From the worker exodus in Durango to the billionaire bailout in Aspen, the story is clear. The Colorado mountain dream, fueled by cheap debt, has turned into a financial nightmare. The avalanche is here. If you want the truth about these markets, hit that like button, subscribe, and comment below which town shocked you the most.